Oh my... What?
Tell me he doesn't look exactly like Prince, dude.
Hang on. Let me just get this image up on stream here for a real second.
Dude, it's actually hilarious, dude. Like, straight up. He looks...
The dragon formerly known as Wrathion.
Yeah, dude, like, it's...
Like...
Hello and welcome to the Two Step Podcast. I'm Bag, and joining me as always is Mag.
Hello.
And today we've got some rooty tooty nice old music playing along with it.
Oh yeah, let's bounce.
Why is my...
Just headbang to this shit.
Why is my game not
Headbang. Cause for the same reason you're for the same reasons your fucking transition didn't load last week. Techno.
Oh yeah, that's right, dude. Dude, the techno demons are invading. Anyways, today we have a couple of things that we're actually going to talk about. We might get to all of them. Who knows? Recently, our problem has kind of been that since we decided that we're just going to become the rant podcast where we just talk about something and then forget what the hell we're doing, we kind of haven't been finishing the topic list. Also, I'm looking for the button for my light and I can't find it. Professional streamers, by the way.
Two-step rantcast edition.
And there we go. Hey, no, I'm not like, oh, that's not the right color. Hello.
Professional.
Anyways, topics today are going to be video game delays. So many things have been getting delayed. I don't know why they decide to, put such early things and then delay everything. 8.3 Wild Patch came out.
Terrible.
And spoiler alert, it's horrible.
Terrible!
We've got gaming companies cashing in on nostalgia, and even though the games are good, they're still cashing in on nostalgia. And then we've got Super Sword Brothers. I don't think I need to say anything more. We'll talk about that later. Anyways,
Super Sword Brothers.
Also non-podcast material, but we got a new character in the only game that we play, Slay the Spire. We have a new character that's broken as shit. So yeah, that's gaming news, right? I think that counts. That's gaming news.
It counts.
Yeah.
It's a good. We can talk about it if we have time. Honestly, might as well.
Yeah. But anyways,
it's a good character. It's a good game. So
Starting out, the video game company delays. So the one that started this, right? The one that actually started the conversation is CD Projekt Red has delayed Cyberpunk 2077 until September.
That was the one that started. Yeah, that was the one that started the conversation with us. But it's not the first delay that got announced because Last of Us Part 2 got delayed beforehand. But Cyberpunk 2077 is the most disappointing one, I'd say, on this list for you and I.
Yeah, definitely. I'm like really looking forward to that game. Like, regardless of what happens, I'm going to play it and I'm probably going to stream it. But so the shitty part of the whole entire situation though isn't that it got delayed. It's fine that video games get delayed. It's the fact that CD Projekt Red literally admitted that they're going to force their workers to do crunch for
specifically
8 months straight.
Yeah, they said. Well, then the thing is, they said extra long hours, and the problem with this lies in the fact that the biggest issue is that people think, like, lots of people mistake a delay for less crunch. That's not how it works.
No,
though,
it's
right?
more
Think
crunch.
About, and that might, to be fair, that might be how it works for something like Electronic Arts, who don't actually engage in crunch all that much, right? Who actually have a decent work ethic. Yes, believe it or not, I'm actually giving Electronic Arts some credit, right?
Yeah. I think that their business stuff, their internal business stuff, is actually really good. Everything else just sucks.
It's funny because it went the moment the whole fucking EA spouse debacle, right? That happened over 10 years ago now or so. That really shook them up. And if you don't know what that was, it was basically a woman complaining anonymously on a blog that her husband was experiencing crunch. And this was the first time that people, like normal consumers, like gamers, ever heard about the tragic conditions that most developers are subjected to. And it fundamentally, the backlash that this caused for Electronic Arts fundamentally made them change how they treat their employees. It's really, really good. Unfortunately, that didn't matter to anybody else, right? Obviously, Rockstar and CD Projekt Red don't care. And so delays for companies that don't already engage in crunch generally means that they fucked up and they need to do more time. But their workers won't necessarily be negative.
I mean, it does probably feel like prison. So I guess that's a good way to put it.
It just means that the workers don't feel. Well, for the workers, right? It's one of those things where they're not going to work more hours in that case, but so it means that the company is just spending more money to get the game out in a decent condition. But when you're something like CD Projekt Red or you're Rockstar, right? For instance, if you're CD Projekt Red or you're Rockstar. Basically, if you're a company that already has a solid history of fucking massive crunch, because CD Projekt Red and Rockstar specifically, right, they are already insanely guilty of really, really long work hours. They don't have a great working culture, right?
They really don't.
They don't treat their employees well. So when they come out and say they're going to delay, that doesn't really mean anything. That doesn't mean that the workers are going to get a break. That just means that they're going to work longer hours for longer. That's all that means. And for the record, there's no point. Like, crunch is one of those things where every industry has a point in time where people just have to work more or harder for that specific period. Everyone has this. I mean, even retail has this because Black Friday's a fucking thing, right?
Yep. Yeah, it absolutely happens. It's not uncommon. So it's something that, like, for example, like he said, Black Friday, there's basically periods of time where, because humans are humans and they don't do their stuff when they're supposed to, and managers also forget to tell their employees to do stuff when they're supposed to, crunch does happen. But video game crunch is like, okay, so for the next, until the game is out, your life is work. It's basically like animators in Japanese studios where it's like, okay, listen, you're going to be literally working for pennies, 20 hours a day. You sleep at work, you wake up, and you animate, and that's your entire life, and you get paid nothing.
It's supposed to be a last resort. Well, it is, but it's supposed to be a last resort. Something that you do because you can't do anything else. Something that you spend maybe a few days, maybe a week or two at most, not entire months. Like if your company is forcing you to work 80 or even 60 plus hour weeks for months on end until a product is shipped, then your fucking company is poorly managed. And it's not even just that it's necessarily poorly managed, it's that executives, specifically anybody who's making the decision to have a tight deadline, right? They're doing that either because they're incompetent and they don't know how to do proper time management, or because they're being pressured themselves into pushing the product out as quickly as possible with disregarding quality control or fucking good working conditions or whatever. Because
it's almost always that one, by the way.
Yeah, think about it. Well, of course, because the project managers are usually also developers. So they don't just get off. They're the same. They're also working 60-hour fucking timelines, right? So, but the executives who have told them to work 60-hour timelines, they don't necessarily. Well, the two things is that they're either not working that amount of time, or they normally work that amount of time anyways because they're fucking sociopaths that just work that amount of time and they think that everybody should work that amount of time, despite the fact that it's been fucking researched and studied and shown that even more than 6 hours a day. After 6 hours, that's it. Your productivity just starts to tank.
Yeah, it plummets. It's because I brought this up before. It starts at 6 hours. Like your productivity actually goes slightly up all the way to 6 hours, and then at 6 hours it starts to decline. At 8 hours it sharply declines, and after 10 hours it's almost nothing. And the thing about it is that people don't realize is that this isn't for everyone, but it's for 99% of people. There are people like Elon Musk is the person that I always bring up, right?
That's the first one,
It's the first one that I think of. There are people that can do it, but they do it because it's from a place of love and drive and empowerment, whereas people being forced to work 80-hour weeks don't have that.
I mean, even funnier. Well, that's the thing. Even funnier than this, I was watching a video on Tested, Adam Savage's Tested, where he was mentioning. It was that fucking sculpture video I said. But the big intro to that is that he was saying that he used to spend a lot of time after work and stuff doing sculptures. But then when he started doing special effects, he stopped doing a lot of personal projects because he realized that the personal projects that he was doing, the sculpting, was filling a need for him to be creative, and he no longer needed that extra personal project stuff to feel creative, to feel satisfied, because he was getting it at his work. And that's when he understood the whole concept of having a career that you actually enjoy. the problem here is that it's not so much that developers don't necessarily enjoy fucking like making games or programming or any of that stuff. It's that it's only so much you can fucking do in an hour's fucking work, right? And programming specifically is so monotonous.
Oh yeah, it absolutely can be.
Like,
especially when you're programming stuff for other people that you don't like. If it's like a personal project, sure. Also, Star brought up, he contributed, said that, yeah, I can feel that during my workday. I start at 5 a.m., so at 11:30, when I take my lunch, I've already worked 6.5 hours. See, yeah, that's ridiculous, right? Like, working, I mean, you're in manufacturing, so, you know, it's just accepted in the culture, which is shitty.
Yeah.
But like, when you've already exhausted yourself for the day, productivity-wise, before you've even made it to lunch, it's insane.
Yeah, I don't... And we just consider that it's too normalized, I feel. But
absolutely.
I mean, getting back on, like, so, yeah, and Star, he said here, he enjoys his job and enjoys feeling of making something out of metal, but doesn't enjoy the whole feeling of being rushed. No, of course not. And that's, I think, ultimately the problem with crunch or working 60-hour weeks, right? Because they're in perpetual rush mode. It's not a casual working environment where they're all like, yeah, we're working to make a game and we can add this feature and we can add that feature. It's oh my god, we have to get the game out now! It should have been out 5 fucking years ago! What the fuck? You gotta work 80 hours a fucking week to get it done in the last century, you fuck! Like, it's a completely different paradigm. It's like, if you're not going back in time and kicking yourself in the balls, then you haven't been productive today.
Pretty much.
And so when CDPR says they're going to delay Cyberpunk 2077, it's not because it's going to be better, it's because they've mismanaged their time. It's not necessarily going to be worse either, but it's that they have... And the worst part about it is that it's already been in development for like fucking 4+ years, and they announced it like, what, 6 years ago?
Yeah, they said that the game is quote-unquote done, it's playable all the way through, but now they're trying to add in all of the extra stuff. It's like, okay, you want us to buy that?
What's the extra stuff?
Yeah, right. Let's hear it.
Like, what is it?
Like, you want us to buy that? Come on, dude.
Because, for instance, we know multiplayer is coming at some point, but it's not coming. It wasn't supposed to be coming until after the game was released.
So yeah, it's
and the
like.
Worst part,
go ahead.
And the worst part about it too, Star, just mentioning it here from chat, is that you will work a 60-hour week to make a product that you don't get fuck all money from. Like, the people you're making these products for, that you're spending so much hours on a week. Great, you're making a product, great, you feel productive, but you don't see anything of that. You don't see anything more than what they're already like legally contracted to pay you. You don't necessarily get a bonus. Oh yeah, sure, they might shout everyone out for fucking lunch. Oh yeah, whoop-de-fucking-do. That may cost them like, oh no, they paid $200 in fucking catering after him. They had fucking $500,000 for fucking 2 weeks work. This is why this is why I would prefer ultimately to become an independent contractor as a designer, right?
Yeah, sure.
Because then I'm getting all the money. Fuck it. And I know exactly what I'm getting the money for. It's a service that I've done. Holy crap. And apparently his shop alone made $44 million last year. And the company itself made $128 million. Yeah, and you made that.
So there was I was watching the Joe Rogan podcast, and it's honestly there's a guy that they brought on, I don't remember what his name was, but he kind of talked about how ridiculous those situations are, right? You spend every day manufacturing for, if you're working 6.5 hours before lunch, that means you're probably working 13-hour days, right?
Yeah.
You can answer that whenever you want, Star. But if you're working 13-hour days, regardless of how much money you're getting paid, so let me do like a little bit of math here, right? I'm gonna bring up a calculator. So if you're doing 13-hour days times how many how many hours a day do you work?
You're saying 13-hour days. How many hours do you work a day? It would be 13.
Well, he didn't say 13. I just assumed because he's doing half. 8-hour day ends at 1. So wait. So you get that's a late lunch. Interesting.
Yep.
Okay.
It's a late lunch and he works early. Starts really early.
Yeah. 8, 10, or 12 depending. Okay, so here we go. So 8, 10, or 12 depending, right? So say that you work on when you're working at the most, right? And you're making the most money, right? So say it's super duper crunch time and you're working 12-hour days, 5 days a week, right? So 12 times 5 is 60 hours, right? So 20 of that is going to be time and a half. So if you do, say, so it ends up being 70 hours is what you get paid, right? So you get paid for 70 hours. So if you're doing 70 hours times, even if you're making $20 an hour, right? Because you have to remember, this is your whole life for 5 days a week. If you're even working 20 hours, you're only making $1,400 a week to just give up your life, right? Like that whole week, you don't do shit. Is $1,400 a week worth giving up your entire life for? That's the thing that sucks, right? It's like, for some people, yes, it ends up being what they like doing if they enjoy doing what they're doing, but I personally, for $1,400, would not work 60 hours. You know what I mean? No. Like, I would have to be making a lot more money, because I have a very different concept of like how useful money is to me. Our typical crunch time is 12 hours Monday through Friday with another 5 to 10 on Saturday. Okay, so that's even more, right? So that's 70 hours, which is, what's 25, 10, 12, that's like almost 90 hours, right? Like that's almost 90 hours of pay that you're getting. But that's for 6 days. It's just what I'm basically trying to get at here is it's ridiculous that that's all the money that you're getting for basically just completely giving up your week, right?
Yeah, and the thing about this too is you think, okay, you get a lot more money, but who gives a shit if you're getting a lot more money if you have zero time to ever get any benefit out of it as well, right? You got to think that that's something that has to be factored. What else? What I want to, before we go to, I really don't want to rant about this for too long because I want to actually talk about the other topics for once. The other games that were delayed this year, other than Cyberpunk 2077 though, we've got The Last of Us Part 2, as already said, which kind of sucks. I haven't played The Last of Us myself, right? But I know it was apparently really, really good. Yeah, I don't have a console either, but I've heard it's really, really good. So obviously, if you're a Last of Us fan, kind of sucks. Final Fantasy fucking, 7 remake? I mean, and this is actually, and we'll talk more about the Final Fantasy 7 remake when we also talk about Resident Evil 3 remake. But then there's the Avengers, which I believe was like a fucking brawling game. There's Cyberpunk 2077. There's Rainbow Six Quarantine, and there are Watch Dogs Legion. Now, I'm not interested in either of those games. Watch Dogs just kind of died as a series for me, because apparently Watch Dogs 2 is good, but I vehemently disliked Watch Dogs, the original game, so I got burned out by that game that I never bothered to check in on it. But that's already, how many days? That's 6 games that's already delayed. And it's funny because you see a bunch of people going, oh no, what if fucking Mountain Blade Bannerlord gets delayed? Which I'll admit, that would suck, because I'm a fan of that. That'd be fucking cool to play. It would suck either way. So many delays.
It just feels like already. They are in this constant state of over-promising and under-delivering, right? Yeah. It's a basic business knowledge that you never do that. That's the worst thing that you can possibly do. But the way that society and things like this is changing is that people can get away with it just to drive hype, right? And the problem is that when there's these non-personal situations like companies, they can get away with driving positive and negative hype back and forth, right? Because let me be frank here. If it's not a single person doing it, a company can drive a ton of negative hype, and it's only good for them. It's not even bad. I mean,
it's just like, well, we've talked about, it's just engagement at that point, right? They don't even care. It doesn't.
When you're
like they might care, but it's like that's why they say bad publicity is good publicity, because they just care about people talking to them. I don't necessarily agree with that statement all the time, but as a general broad fucking thing, I think it is generally true.
Yeah, it's something where, like, when there are these large, like, quote unquote cannot fail companies, anything that gets them into your brain is good for them, and that's the part that sucks, right? So when it comes to like a person, like if you or I did some really, really bad shit, like some really just horrible bad shit, that may not be the greatest thing for us, right? Yeah, it might boost short-term popularity, but I'm not going to say that it would be good for us in the long term. If we're just doing something that's like objectional, right? Like if we're doing something that's just like, haha, look at this idiot, that's one thing.
Yeah.
But companies just get away with it because the 24-hour cycle of news just pushes it out of people's brains after a single day.
Yeah, and we spoke about this last week, on last week's episode a little bit as well. It's just depressing. It's just the fact that... And it's the same reason why, like, for instance, people often say that games are getting worse, that they're releasing half-baked. The thing is, it's not that games are getting releasing half-baked now. Games have always released in a somewhat buggy state. It was a little different when games were released on a cartridge, because the opportunity cost of releasing a buggy game was really bad. Because if the game was way too buggy and actually unplayable, you had to refund people or replace their cartridge, right, which has production costs, right? But in a digital era, there is no real production cost. There's not nearly as much overhead to fucking up a release as there used to be. That's why we see so many day one patches. But that's been going around for over 10, 15 years now. It's always been kind of like that. Ever since Steam blew the fuck up, it's been a thing. It's just, it's way more overt because now they don't care. They don't even care about making an apology for it.
Before, the only reason I know this is because of speedrunners. Before, cartridges, even if you didn't realize it, cartridges came out with multiple versions way, way back in the day. It was very rare, but occasionally they would. Like, if you look on the back of some older cartridges, you'll see, like, version 1.1 or version 1.2 on them. But the ease of access to that now is just so available that it's just become accepted. Like, this just happened with GGG, right? Like, Path of Exile, the game that I play a lot, Mag plays a lot. The Conquerors of the Atlas, right? There's so many little things that they're adding in with the patches that just they decided, oh, well, this isn't that important, let's just move it back and just release anyways. Like the like one of the small things that came to mind was when they just did this recent patch, the final boss Cirrus, they introduced all of the lore for him was just not there until this patch. Like
the journal,
the lore in Path of Exile is done through journals that sit around and little pieces of text that sit around. Right?
I mean, that's not even the only one. Remember, the whole fucking passive skill tree, that additional passive tree quest in passive skill tree. The additional fucking quest that they added in Act 10 where you kill what's her face, evil corrupted bitch. That wasn't even there for like a year after they released the actual like content itself. It just wasn't there. Nobody even knew it was supposed to be a thing. It just got released, and then that's like, oh, okay. Guess it was a thing.
Oh,
like,
shit, that's
not
what
do you even do in such a shit like that? Nothing.
I thought that was an upgrade thing, and I just removed like a key card from my deck.
Ooh,
Whoops.
Time to restart the game. Fuck it.
It's not. Thankfully, I had another copy of it, but it just kind of sucks to lose that.
Anyways. You could have died in like 3 seconds like last week.
So let's move on a bit because I think we're getting to the end of that. So the basically delays happen and video game companies are shitty. Who would have thought? Next thing that I want to talk about is 8.3. While World of Warcraft 8.3 patch came out. Yeah, Mag doesn't know a ton about this, but I've been looking into it a little bit.
I have the basic wellhead stuff up here, like with the fucking features, and I know of some of them, like the allied races.
I'm not even gonna talk about the features, right? I don't even give a shit.
I'm sorry,
none of the features are even that great. It's pretty mediocre.
Wait, no. I mean, you say that, but what is this legendary cloak bullshit?
Yeah, so there's a legendary. Well, Wrathion's back.
What? Oh, okay.
It's the same cloak, but it doesn't do the effect.
Okay, so you're saying Wrathion's back, and you know what? I liked Wrathion as a character, but I'm not excited about that anymore.
He's Prince now. Literally, he's Prince. Like Prince the artist.
What?
Yeah, okay, here. Look at him. Look at a picture of him. Go look at a picture of him. His name, he is Prince Wrathion, right? But look at a picture of the new Wrathion from the cinematic. Tell me he does not look exactly like fucking Prince.
Let me pull that up as well. So 8.3. Oh my! What?
doesn't look exactly like Prince, dude.
Hang on. Let me just get this image up on stream here for a real second.
Dude, it's actually hilarious, dude. Like, straight up. He looks...
The dragon formerly known as Wrathion.
Yeah, dude, like, it's good. I like it. It's funny because...
but it's fucking hilarious.
Yeah,
I do like... See, it's worth... The reason I'm not really excited about Wrathion is because they dumped him. And I really liked
so
Wrathion.
long. He was gone for so long.
Right? And so it's hard to be excited... Man, he looks fucking cool, though.
Yeah.
He does look cool. But what's his lore
anyways,
like?
The lore is okay, and some of the stuff is fine, right? He also, it's also the first time that we see another of the Black Dragonflight that's not corrupted past Ebonhorn in his full form, so that's interesting as well. But so the problems with this, right? So there's a bunch of problems with this patch. So Blizzard is known for not learning from their mistakes. This is basically the hallmark of new Blizzard when it comes to WoW, right? And some of their other games.
Not even necessarily new Blizzard, to be honest.
True. Blizzard does not learn from their mistakes. And a problem that a lot of people think this is coming from is the fact that turnover at Blizzard is pretty high nowadays. What people actually think is happening is that we've known for a long time that different teams work on different portions of the game. However, it almost feels like...
a massive issue too.
It almost feels like, between these patches, because it's the same team that's working on these patches as far as we know, right? Like, the BFA team, it wouldn't make sense to bring in A team to work on B team's shit, right? And it's, I hope that they're not, because it's terrible. But a problem that's been happening is that in 8.2, when we had Mechagon, there was a lot of content to do. There was all kinds of things there was all kinds of, like, the daily quests and the weekly quests and all kinds of cool shit that you could do, right? And a problem was that there was a daily quest or a weekly quest, I don't remember which one it was, that you had to do where you had to kill a certain amount of rare mobs, and rare mobs don't spawn very often, and you had to kill 3 of them, right? It was so difficult to get those 3 kills that most people didn't even finish it during the week because of how hard it was to get those rares. So they dropped it to 1. They dropped it to require 1 the entire week. You just had to kill 1 rare the entire week to get the quest done. Guess how many that you have to kill in this patch?
There we go.
4.
Alright. Why, though?
It's the same spawn rate, it's the same issue, nothing has changed, and now you have to kill 4. And they patched it, again.
Of course, because they realize that people don't like that shit.
So, and that's not even like the only problem, it's just indicative of the whole problem in and of itself, right? There's also this thing that you can do called, like, Whispers of Insanity or something like that, right? I don't know this because I'm not playing the game right now.
Yeah.
And
I've heard of
and apparently
pieces.
there was this method that you could do that was really time consuming, but it seemed intended, where you could farm it repeatedly, but it took like 10 hours to do it, right? So people that were like the high-end people and the crazy people were farming it. Well, guess what? Apparently it wasn't intended, and those people got banned.
Wait, what?
Yeah.
Are you fucking kidding me?
They revoked the bans after the outrage came out.
How long did that take, though? The point being is that they banned people for doing... They could have released an announcement almost immediately on Twitter saying, do not do this, this is against the rules. But instead of doing that, they went thermo-fucking-nuclear? That's fucking bullshit.
Yeah.
That is complete and absolute crap.
It's stupid, and it took like Twitter outrage, Reddit outrage, a whole bunch of YouTube videos for anything to happen. Of course it does, because Blizzard are a fucking trash company that should be bankrupt and burnt to the fucking ground. And you could quote me on that. You could go on Twitter and call me a fucking shitty asshole because I want to see fucking Blizzard employees fucking sacked and on the ground burning. Not really. God. All of those guys can get hired by some other better company. I don't fucking care. In GTA, by the way. Fuck that. Blizzard doesn't like if. That's unacceptable. Yep.
That's so fucking poor form. Like, holy crap, I really would love every single developer at that fucking studio to just leave and make their own studio with fucking blackjack and hookers.
Yeah, dude, it's pretty bad. And like, and continuing, there was another thing that happened, right? So this isn't even having to do with bugs or having to do with shit. It just seems poorly written. Okay, so there's a quest line, right?
Yeah.
It's the overarching quest line. Okay.
Yeah.
Guess how many quests are in the overarching quest line having to do with with the patch. Guess how many quests? Just throw a number out there.
3.
Oh, you're right, actually. Okay, so
yeah, so I was because when you said that, I figured there'd be fucking nothing, right?
So there's 3 quests, and you want to know how the quests go? This is how the quests go.
No,
Quest 1.
Probably not. Let's go.
You don't want to know. Quest 1. Kill 15 black blobby things. Okay, that's quest 1, right? You just killed 15 things. Quest 2. Go kill 10 of these slightly bigger blobby things. Quest 3. Kill N'y'alotha.
I mean, that's a logical progression.
Right, dude? Like, dude, that's how it goes. It's kill 15 of these random mobs, kill 10 of these random bigger mobs, and now just kill the old god. Just you know, that's the progression, dude. You kill the little guys, you kill the slightly bigger guys, and then you kill the literal god demon.
I mean, what's the problem, right? My fucking resume is already like 2 old gods tall. It's fine.
So like, wow, it's ridiculous.
I don't know. You know what? It's actually amazing. It's totally amazing how it's actually still possible to have the lowest fucking expectations and to still have them completely and absolutely shattered.
You could have them shattered with no expectations, Mag. I didn't even go into this. It's not even something that's like that I care about right now. Shit.
That's the thing. I didn't give a shit, and you've told me this, and I'm like, how though? It's so. Who at fucking Blizzard? Like, this is them just cashing out. This is 100% them just completely cashing out, right? Like, holy fuck.
Oh, there's another 6-month subscription mount, by the way.
Yeah, fuck that. Fuck them, they're greedy fucking bullshit. Holy crap.
Some other things that are interesting. There's you can tell how lazy they're getting as well, because there's this mount that you can get. It's like a secret mount, right?
Okay.
And it's called like a male muncher or something. It's like a big worm, right? Like it's a big like worm looking thing, and it's got like big crunchy teeth on the end of it, right? Well, guess what that mount has? One of its idle animations is, you know how the dragons from Pandaria, they do that scratch thing with their leg when the idle, and they like do the thing where they like scratch their side with the back claw. This worm mount that has no legs, by the way, does that animation.
Right.
It just like contorts and does like this thing, and it just looks so stupid.
Like, what do you even say?
You remember when the term Blizzard Polish was a thing?
Yeah, it's really.
You remember that?
Fucking hell! Wow, that's really, really depressing.
It is.
Actually.
It's
then again,
super
you know
depressing.
what? I haven't felt this disappointed in a video game studio since I finished Mass Effect 3.
Yeah.
Because honestly, that's it, right? Like, for you, specifically, you probably have more weight than this to me. Like, because you grew up with Blizzard, whereas I kind of didn't. But I grew up with BioWare, so I understand the same feelings. Because BioWare was my jam when I was a kid. And then Mass Effect 3 ending come out, and then it's like... And it wasn't even just Mass Effect 3. Honestly, Dragon Age 2 was really the nail in the coffin. Dragon Age 2 was the real, like, signifier, the symbol that something was wrong. And then Mass Effect 3 happened, and then Andromeda happened, and by the time Andromeda happened, that's it, really. If you weren't convinced that... If Mass Effect 3 hadn't convinced you that BioWare was dead, Andromeda totally should have, right? And Anthem is just them pissing on the grave.
Oh yeah,
right?
absolutely.
That's absolutely everything. And now Blizzard, and it's just heartbreaking, right? It's completely devastating to see one of your favorite companies that made some of your favorite video games, like anything like Knights of the Old Republic or Diablo in Blizzard's case, and they're just shit everywhere, all over it, constantly.
It's terrible. It honestly
how am I
is
supposed to feel?
Truly terrible.
But like, how are you supposed to feel anything but just depressed at that? And it's funny because we all know it's going to happen. It always happens, right? Historically, this is a thing that companies just go through. So we know it was going to happen eventually, but that doesn't make it feel better, right?
No, it just honestly makes it feel worse. Like, for me,
yeah,
at
well,
least.
it's like absolutely. Well, it's like when you know that your relationship with somebody is just in the shitter, and you know where it's going to end. You can see it coming. That doesn't, just because you know it's happening doesn't make it any more, doesn't make it like less sad. I mean, it makes it easier to kind of go, okay, it makes it easier to get over it after you've been sad, but it doesn't make you less sad during the fucking encounter, the event, right?
It's like, yeah, eventually I'll feel better. Like, maybe Shadowlands will be good. Maybe. I mean, I kind of expect it to, but the problem is that if Shadowlands is better...
Who cares? ...than
BFA, it just confirms my thoughts, right? It just makes me feel like I'll play Shadowlands, but I know not to even try to get invested in the next one.
No.
Because Blizzard has played that card now, right? They said... Before Legion, which Legion was a good expansion. I think that Legion was one of the better ones that they've made recently. Just as an overall expansion, right? I didn't enjoy it as much as some of the other ones, but... Blizzard said, they specifically said, hey, we know we messed up with WoD. We understand that we messed up. It won't happen again. Give us this chance. And these were words that came from Blizzard officials. This isn't just me, like, ad-libbing. Like, we understand that we messed up.
Yeah, no.
Give us another chance. We'll make it up to you. And they did with Legion.
You don't get another.
But BFA was a fucking slap in the face.
But BFA is them going back on their word, saying, we remember all these problems. We know you had these problems. We won't do it again.
But get
so
fucked.
Why don't you do it again? Yeah. Basically, it is... And the thing, for the record, we've known, like, it's been a joke for a long time that every second expansion in WoW is shit. It's been a joke since Mists of Pandaria, honestly. Even maybe before then, like Cataclysm, for instance. But Legion, it took until, I think, Legion for a lot of people to see because of how blatantly bad Warlords was. Mm-hmm. Right? Like, Cataclysm is considered generally pretty terrible compared to Wrath and Mists of Pandaria, which came before and after. But
absolutely,
Cataclysm was nowhere near as... Like, it was much more subtle. It was nowhere near as obviously bad as, like, Warlords was, in terms of just how fucking less of a shit they gave.
Although that was one of my favorite expansions of all time.
Yeah, it's funny because, it was our favorite expansion. Well, that's the thing. It was my favorite expansion of all time as well. But not for the right reasons, necessarily.
Yes,
it was only for one reason, and that was because of raid. If it wasn't for raiding, it would be shit. And I mean, that's the thing.
I wouldn't even have played. I
didn't. I only logged in for raid, right? If it didn't have raiding, well, then it would have been the worst fucking crap. Oh yeah, man. Garrisons. Best fucking invention I've ever heard of. Said nobody ever.
Okay, I thought that garrisons were an okay thing, right? I think that the iteration of them was poor, but...
Well, that's the thing, right?
I think that they were an okay thing.
Yeah, but anyone can make a good idea, and they execute. It's just like the concept. Yes, the concept was great, but the execution was less than desirable. And I'm done with accepting that because ideas they're few and far between. They're not. No. Ideas are common as shit, right? They're not. That's something anybody comes up with. I have lots of ideas. You have lots of ideas. Everyone has fucking ideas, right? It's up to Blizzard to be able to execute those in a desirable fashion. So when they release Garrisons, which is this half-assed attempt at essentially player-owned housing, I guess, why the fuck am I going to go, oh, it was good conceptually? Fucking so what?
Real quick, Mag. That was insanely unlucky. Okay, you know the thing where you have like a 25% chance to get a relic, but you take damage and it slightly goes up until you get it?
Yeah.
I got to 85%.
Oof.
It goes up 5% it goes up 10% every time you click it. I missed a 25, a 35, a 45, a 55, a 65, and a 75.
Huh.
That's insane.
Did you even get anything?
Yeah, I got, at the start of each combat, heal 2 HP. I lost 52. Anyways, yes.
Rep.
So something that I find interesting about WoW, I think this is the last thing I really have to say about it, is that it feels like BFA should have came out before Legion. It feels like BFA should have been the precursor to Legion, right? Because all of the systems that are in BFA feel like not as good of versions of them as there was in Legion.
Yeah, but the only reason Legion even come out as a thing, and do you mean mechanically? Because obviously storyline-wise, the only reason Legion even
storyline I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, because obviously the only reason the storyline happened in Legion is because they really needed to pull people back from how terrible Warlords were. Basically, they pulled out. It's basically break glass in case of emergency, and the glass, and behind the glass is just burning Legion. Like, that was it, right? Yeah. Wow. It's not even just Illidan though. It's just Sargeras as well. Just like. You know, just cutting it off, like solving all of that plot line that they've been like building up for fucking 20 fucking years almost at that point.
Yep.
But
Yeah,
so I wasn't worried about the storyline for fucking Battle for Azeroth. I knew it probably wouldn't get as good as Legion was. It's fine, but like, it's bad, and it is bad. But it's not just bad storyline wise; it's bad like gameplay wise as well. Because I don't like Warlord's storyline, but I still raided. It was still fun. It was fine.
See, like the problem is that in BFA we had like the neck piece, right? Like the Heart of Azeroth, right? It feels like a half-baked, shitty version of Legendaries, is what it feels like.
And then they got and then not only that, but they also got rid of fucking like tier sets for this. Tier sets were killed for this.
Tier sets was one of the most beloved things in raiding, in the game.
The thing about tier sets is it's not just... Tier sets were so fucking well loved that they added them to fucking LFR just so that casual players who don't raid can have them. Because the thing about tier sets is it's not just that they're fucking like an awesome looking fucking piece of armor, custom designed for the specific class that they're tailored to. That part is amazing. Right? And people will always have their favourite tier sets that they just fondly remember. For me, it's tier 10 Death Knight and tier 2 Paladin set. Obviously, those are just memorable as fuck. And of course, tier 6 Warlock set. Every fucking one remembers that. That's the first fucking one where Warlocks got wings! Okay? Like, they're amazing. But it's not just that. It's that they changed the way your class or your spec played. It was a form of horizontal progression that felt really, really good and fun. And then they remove it and they try to replace not only that, but also all of the legendaries, which do the same thing, and the original artifact with the fucking necklace. And it just doesn't do enough. Nope. It doesn't do anything. At the start of release, the artifact didn't do shit for half the classes I fucking played. It just gave me more damage for my rotation that I would already do. Wow, good design. Thanks.
Like, Shadow Priests were so fundamentally changed by the legendary artifact, and their whole entire class was made amazing. I loved Shadow Priests. And then they just removed some of that with the artifact, didn't replace it with anything, and just left the class broken. Like, it didn't work. Okay, anyways, we could bitch about WoW for literally years at this point, right? Like, we could literally do it for years at this point. But let's move on to nostalgia. So the reason that we said that video game companies are the reason that we said that video game companies are cashing in on nostalgia right now is that we've got these companies that albeit they're probably and are good games, right? Like Resident Evil 2 Remake was a good game. The Resident Evil 3 Remake will probably be a good game. I think that the Final Fantasy 7 Remake will probably be a good game. The problem is that although it's a good business decision and I understand it, it's just so shitty that we get all of these new games that come out that are terrible, and then we get all of these old games that are completely revamped, right?
Yeah,
like they're not the original games.
It's ultimately because, the thing is that they're basically like the original games, but they have a little bit of a modern flair to them. So that's the thing, right? They don't have to do any fucking real effort other than in the art department, and like the amount of game design effort that needs to be done to remake Resident Evil 3 compared to making a completely new Resident Evil game is basically, well, to be honest, I don't actually know if it's really negligible, because honestly, let's be fair, Resident Evil as a series hasn't necessarily dramatically changed. Neither has the Final Fantasy series, in such a way that they can't just pump out new games if they wanted to. The biggest upside is they don't have to spend any time writing a storyline, and they can just kind of copy paste the fucking the game design. So most of the effort's just going to be programming it in a newer engine, if that's their prerogative, and art. Just lots of art. It's just such a lazy way of making people interested, and it only really works because there's so many people who, especially new young gamers who've never played those games, and of course fanboys. Like, think about it. Imagine if they remade Deus Ex. You know I'd be buying it. Oh, sure, obviously. Of course. I'd be fucked, but it's it's not necessary, because I can totally play the original Deus Ex, and it hasn't aged badly, in my opinion, whatsoever. Especially if you play with any of the gameplay overhaul mods, like Give Me Deus Ex, or fucking...
I think most of them are fine.
The other one is fine, right?
It's just really, it really makes me sad that all of this effort is put in. Like, okay, so the Resident Evil remake, right? It sort of plays like the original games did. They just fixed all of the problems, and they put all this effort into it. The most recent Resident Evil game that came out, Biohazard, was fucking awesome. I loved that game.
Yeah.
Like, it was a great game. Give me another... Put all of that effort into another awesome Resident Evil game. I don't care to replay Resident Evil 2. I played it when it came out. I don't know. That might just be me.
The thing about it though is, and I've always said this, right? Innovation happens out of necessity. They don't have to. It's the reason why we get lots of remakes, right? And nostalgia sells really well, and it's super easy to market for, and it's super easy to produce, which is why so many movies and shit do it. It's just terribly lazy. In the end, it
is absolutely.
It's hard not to be cynical about it, because why? Why would I want to be excited about shit that I've already fucking played before?
Yeah,
plenty of times in some cases.
It's tough, and I don't know how to feel about it sometimes. Like, the Final Fantasy VII thing is going to be super interesting, because supposedly they're completely overhauling that game, and I don't know how it's going to feel, right? Like, if they completely redo Final Fantasy VII, is it going to have the same, like, mystique to it? Is it going to have the same feeling? Because the thing that people don't understand a lot about Final Fantasy VII, because a lot of people didn't play Final Fantasy VII, they like to talk about it, but they never actually played it. That game is weird. That game has a bunch of really weird, like, lighthearted, comedy-based shit in it. There's a part where the main character cross-dresses and goes on stage and, like, does, like, a fucking striptease, like, thing. Like, dude. Like,
amazing.
Like, people don't realize that. They think it's just, oh yeah, Cloud Strife is this edgy No, dude, he's really, really not. The reason that he gets edgy is because his fucking girlfriend gets killed, right? Like... Which,
that's like, it's a natural progression, too. Like, why would... Oh, no, he's so fucking edgy because his girlfriend died. Wham, wham. It's like, what? You telling me you fucking wouldn't be? Come on,
dude,
man.
Like,
what the fuck?
You have this person that's, like, the antagonist the entire time that, like, builds himself up as this evil, demonic creature, and then he fucking kills your girlfriend in front of you. Of course you're gonna be a little bit fucking edgy, dude. Of course you're gonna be a little bit off. Who wouldn't be watching their girlfriend get fucking killed in front of them? And then having to fight them?
Man.
It's like, come on, dude.
Especially because this character, like, totally... What's the word I'm looking for? It's not in his nature, in, like, Cloud's nature to even do that. Like, everything goes... He was pushed to that limit. That's the whole point. But nah, it's fine. He's clearly just an edgy fucking teenage
he's just
wank. Fuck him.
Edgy piece of shit, and he obviously is just, like, just edgy.
What a bitch.
Edgy, dark.
I get that that's a theme as well too, so I understand that people might be slightly upset with it, but Final Fantasy VII is not the game. It's not the game that you should be pointing your rage towards. I mean, there's plenty of games that like Hatred, which was literally a game that they tried to market as being like fucking Postal, but it's literally terrible. It's just edgy violence. It's not even a good game. Yeah, that's the thing, right? You can make anyone can make an edgy game that's edgy, right? The thing that made Postal such a good game when it first came out, and Postal 2, is that they were revolutionary. Like, Postal 2 was one of the first open world sandbox games next to Grand Theft Auto. I don't think people get that because they probably haven't played it, because all they know about the game is that it's just needlessly offensive.
I'm supposed to be upset about this.
Yeah, but it's just, exactly. But it's South Park levels of offensive, where it's deliberately offensive as a satire. For fuck's sake, they have a group of fucking people complaining that video games are violent, and when you approach them, they pull out guns and start shooting you. The whole concept is, like, people just don't like it because of the premise where the easiest way to achieve the goals, because it's like fucking Untitled Goose Game, where you have a bunch of goals and you have to achieve them. And the easiest way to achieve them in Postal 2 is to just kill people, right? Like, waiting in line to get a bottle of milk. Okay, I could wait in line, and you could wait in line, and you will eventually get the bottle of milk, right? Or whatever you have to get. Like, there's one where you have to go to the bank, and you have to wait in line. Yeah, you could wait in line, or you could just shoot everybody.
It'd be a lot easier.
It's a lot easier to just go and get arrested, escape from your prison, steal a fucking prison outfit, and then shoot people as a cop. Because then nobody cares. I'm not kidding, by the way. That's Postal 2 game strategy, right? That's min-maxing
100%.
there. You can 100% do that. And people just look at it and go, well, what the fuck? That's needlessly offensive. And then you have stuff like fucking, I don't know, Call of Duty Modern Warfare fucking, I'm going to be an undercover fucking CIA agent and I'm going to fucking kill a bunch of Russian people. Yeah, remember that scene? It's fine scene, by the way. Totally acceptable within the realms of the game. It makes fucking sense. But
no
I mean...
Russian.
Yeah, No Russian was amazing at the time it was done in, but nobody gave It was only fucking people still fucking gave. Like, it's funny because people gave that fucking shit, right? Like the media blew the fuck up with it, but gamers didn't give a shit about that. Gamers didn't care about that because who gives a fuck? It's like it made sense. It had a story reason to do that. Oh, but Postal 2, man, that's the most evil fucking game in existence.
Oh yeah, dude, obviously.
Yay.
Anyone who made that game should be just slaughtered on the spot. How dare they exist?
I guarantee you Postal developers love the hate fucking mail they got.
Oh sure, absolutely.
The only fucking time they've ever, like, it's funny, like, the only time they've ever felt remorse for it, anything they've ever done, is allowing Postal 3 to be a thing.
Yeah.
Because it's terrible. Because it's fucking horrendous. It's a fucking awful game. It's not even made by them. It's made by some Russian developer. Don't play it. It's terrible. They pretend it doesn't exist. And they just... When somebody asked them about Postal 3, the developers are just like, what's Postal 3? Just ignore the fact that the new game they're making is called Postal 4.
Yeah, dude, just gloss over it. But yeah, it's...
Just gloss over it.
It's just kind of upsetting, like, I hate my nostalgia. I hate my nostalgia being tickled so constantly, and, like, I just worry that...
It's manipulative. You know? It feels manipulative.
It just feels really bad. Like, okay, so moving on to probably the last thing that we're gonna talk about, and then we'll just bullshit from here on out. So Super Smash Brothers, right? This game has been kind of controversial, mostly in the pro scene because there's been so many bugs with the game that's been coming out. Like, there was literally a bug that came out recently where with a certain character, if you did a very easy combination of buttons, you were able to jump off of mid-air if you were going to take damage. Like, you were able to just jump out of mid-air. So it's like great.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I know.
So there's all these kinds of bugs. So everyone's been kind of excited for all the new characters and stuff, and there's this conspiracy theory out that that whatever character, they were having licensing issues. So guess what we got? We got another Fire Emblem character, and it's another swordsman. And it's like, how many do we have now? Is that 4?
It's funny because this is not a topic I actually care strongly about either way.
No, he doesn't. I don't really either. But it's super meta right now. The whole.
It's apparently blowing the fuck up because people give a shit about this. I think it's just because it's passionate fans, right? That want interesting content, and they're not getting interesting content. They're just getting rehashed crap.
So it's like,
especially when you think about the models, right? It's probably really easy to just remake another Fire Emblem character because they all look look similar. They have a similar style. All you have to do is change the sword.
Yeah, you don't have to really do anything. And I'm great. The new character that came out is fine, but like when you really look back at all the other characters and the things that they could have done. Shit. And obviously, we get this announcement, and this is the part that made people realize, oh, this is probably just something went wrong. They're getting like 12 more DLC fighters in the next year or something like that. It's like, okay, if you're getting that many, you're giving us this one because something got fucked up, right? And they have to be like, oh, well, you're getting more later so that they can be like, oh, please don't hate us for putting in another swordsman into your game after there's like 4 other ones.
Yeah, so the point being is that Bylea, for whatever, was probably supposed to be there, but not necessarily as the next one, and something's gone wrong. I mean, that makes it more I think that makes it a little bit more acceptable, I guess.
A little bit.
It'd be nice if they were transparent. They need to be more transparent about that, though.
Yeah,
and ultimately, let's be honest. Even if they did release a good one now, at the end of the day, they're just delaying the inevitable displeasure that people are going to get when they realize, hey, look, it's another swordsman.
Yeah, so I guess they felt that the best time to do it was now. But now on to the most important piece of information that we're going to give you tonight. This is the most important thing you've probably heard all day, heard all week, maybe all month. I would say all year, but all month and all year is the same thing right now.
It's same at the moment, yeah.
There is a model replacement for the new Dragon Ball Z game.
I was wondering what the fuck are you on about, and then I remembered. I just quickly remembered, that's right, that's the one thing we haven't talked about.
There's a model replacement for the new Dragon Ball Z game that replaces the model with Shaggy.
I mean, can I get an image of this? Hang on.
Yeah, get something up. Because, like... if you guys don't remember, there was a very, very popular meme of Shaggy from Scooby-Doo about him just
Shaggy
being the
Ball
most
Z.
powerful creature in all of existence.
So this meme happened because it was like a movie or somewhere where he gets like possessed and he basically gets an alter ego, and the alter ego's a total fucking
beats the
badass,
shit out of a bunch of bikers.
basically.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, he beats the shit out of a bunch of bikers, and then he changes back and he doesn't remember anything, and he's like freaking the fuck out because Shaggy's a coward. Shaggy's a coward and he's always scared. And then he changes into his personality and he fucking beats the shit out of bikers and then goes and does a biker race. And the whole movie's about whatever, it's about him being like trying to boost his confidence and stuff. But people ran with that. It became a meme. Clearly, Shaggy is the strongest fucking person in the universe.
Only needs 1% of his power.
100%. Only 1%. Like fucking Goku has nothing on Shaggy.
Absolutely not.
At all.
This is one of those things, okay? This is the reason. Okay, we're gonna get into this. This is the reason why I think that PC games are so much better than console games. Like just fundamentally, is because shit like this can happen, dude. Like, I think that Skyrim is a good example, right? And I know you can talk about forever about Skyrim, but it's just like the reason that Skyrim is good is because of how much you can mod it, right?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't want to ride Tommy Wiseau? Who doesn't want to do that? I can fucking ride Tommy Wiseau as a horse. Hell yes. Or as a dragon.
Yeah, dude.
Who doesn't want to fucking play the game where you have Thomas the Tank Engine going, dude? I love that, bro. That's my favorite.
I do as well. That's one of the favorite
novel.
But it's just...
This is a bad quality video, by the way, but here it is. Here is Shaggy and Dragon Ball Z Kakarot, if you want to take a look.
Yeah, go ahead and watch that. But yeah,
it's terrible quality.
There's been some more people getting on the console versus PC things recently. And honestly, I feel like up until now, PC has always had the advantage, right? But I actually think from a monetary standpoint, going forward, if you are a reputable person that doesn't sell very much, I would say that price performance is going heavily in favor of consoles this next generation.
To be fair, it's been like that for a bit. The problem isn't the price per performance at the start of the console release though. Like, consoles always start off really, really good in terms of price per performance, and they will always decrease because they depreciate immediately. First of all, computer hardware depreciates immediately in value the moment you buy it. It's gotten
the
a little
moment it
better
exists
because
in your hands.
It's much like a car. A car depreciates the moment you buy it because new cars come out all the time. Well, computer hardware also comes out relatively often. Now, it's been a little better because we're getting slow. It's getting slower because of the whole fucking Moore's law being shattered. It's getting slower. But ultimately, you know that new hardware is going to come in like the next year or so, right? And so that's going to drop the value of whatever you buy when you buy it. So consoles, the problem with consoles is they start off really, really good in terms of price per performance, but about a year after they've released, they've basically just halved in price, in value, because a computer will likely be able to buy a new graphics card at that point that just shatters everything that they do. Unfortunately, and then the issue is that consoles don't necessarily half in price a year after they've come out.
No, they normally stay about the same.
Yeah, so they're still the same price, but you're getting less hardware because there's no major upgrades at that point. And you don't tend to get any major upgrades until maybe 2-3 years after they've released. So if you're going to buy
a whole new console to get those upgrades.
Yeah. That's why if you're going to buy a console, you're better off buying. You should buy a console on release. You shouldn't really wait, because the longer you wait, the less it's worth, and the more worthwhile it would be to just spend the money on a fucking computer. Which you should do. Which you obviously should do anyways.
Yeah, just buy a computer. Listen, like I don't know.
I mean,
just buy a house, right? I mean, it's just how you do it, right? You just go out, just buy yourself a house, put a computer in it with all that money that you got sitting around, because I know you're a millennial or you're a Zoomer and you got tons of money on hand right now, right? Like I know that you're loaded because the economy isn't fucked. And I know that you're loaded with money, so go buy those things and play video games and be happy.
Look. And look, if you're offended by this because you are poor, then I only have one thing to say to you. Stop being fucking poor.
Yeah, dude, just stop being sad, man. Just stop.
I know.
How dare you exist wrong? Like, just stop being sad.
What about
stop being poor, dude? Just buy a house.
Fucking.
If you're homeless, just buy a house.
Stop being poor.
That's gonna be it, guys. Thank you for watching. Go follow us on Twitter, join the Discord, subscribe to us on YouTube, do all those cool things. We're done. That's all we got. I mean, like, there's a lot of shit that happened, but we talked about all of it. That's all we got.
No, which is good. I mean, we kind of forced ourselves to get through there because.
Yeah, we needed to catch up a little bit. We need to talk about the things instead
something.
of.
But we still had a bit of a ramble there about Blizzard specifically, which is always good. I mean,
God, we could have talked for hours about Blizzard.
Yeah, but it's fucking fun. It's terrible because we don't like the nostalgia concept. We don't like being manipulated into buying a game based on nostalgia, but we all sit here and reminisce about things just willingly all the time. Like, I mean, that whole nostalgia thing that we mentioned last week that never happened, that was literally because that's me just watching Dragon Ball Z again. I just decided, I'm just gonna watch.
He's been talking to me about it.
I finished season 1, the Saiyan Saga, and now I'm up to they call it the Namek Saga, because it's technically them going to Namek and not actually being on Namek, and you don't tend to get to Frieza, but I think the reason people think that the Frieza Saga is so long is because they lumped the Namek and the Ginyu Force into one section. But it's not. It's actually multiple seasons. So, still long as fuck. But it's like how the Cell Saga isn't technically the Cell Saga. It's the Cell Saga, the imperfect Cell Saga, and then the perfect Cell Saga.
Yeah, there's a whole bunch of stuff to it.
But collectively, they're all really long. It's like all of those shit are long. It's good. I've been watching it.
Alright, guys.
Sweet ass fucking tracks.
Don't
forget, you gotta like us on fucking follow us on Twitter.
Yeah.
And the Twitches and the YouTubes.
Yeah.
And guess the SoundCloud if you're there and stuff.
If you're there making mistakes, if you're on Spotify, what are you doing? Come watch us on YouTube. What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I'm like what, rTastix at Twitter, and then you're big_ducks.
True.
Go there. Do that.
Go there. Do that. We'll see you next week. Maybe. Next week might actually be the week that both of us have problems. I know we've been saying it for a while, but next week might actually be that week. All right, guys.
Oh, well, well.
Take care.